Adventurers! Welcome to the Last Draft. It's me, Barkeep, also known as Chris. This is the Last Draft's first official world building stream. We'll be crafting the world the Last Draft exists in. Today we'll be creating a small settlement slash trading outpost that adventurers first starting out in this world are very likely to come across. But before that, I wanted to summarize the world as we know it so far, so that people new to the tavern can be caught up on the lore. So, as you can see, there's a map right here, and this is the world in which the Last Draft exists. I guess I should actually explain for people who potentially don't know at all. The Last Draft Tavern is a D&D like sketch show slash like fantasy world building thing where I pretend to be a bartender in a fantasy world that's inspired by Dungeons and Dragons and other fantasy genres and IPs and whatnot. But yeah, and so I started off just kind of with the plan to make silly little D&D content, and it turned into creating a larger world for people to play in, and that's kind of what I'm working towards at this point, is building out this world slowly as I make these silly little videos. Yeah, so as you can see, this map here, this town here in the middle called Respite is the town in which the Last Draft exists in, and the Last Draft is a tavern filled with very powerful adventurers, and so having come up with that first idea, I had to think about how a tavern like that could exist, specifically an adventurer's tavern, which is what the Last Draft is. And so starting off with that idea, as I started world building, I began to think of what kind of city or what kind of town would have so many different kinds of adventurers that they would have their own bar, their own tavern that they call home. And so with that, I came up with Respite, which is a adventurer's city. And had to think about, like, why is this city in particular have so many different adventurers in it? So that the reasoning I thought was, like, this place must be pretty dang dangerous if there are adventurers constantly coming to and through here. So the Heart Peak Pass, which you can see here, all these different mountains, these different mountain passes are these sort of strange and dangerous magical valleys that kind of dip into different planes of existences. So there's the Primal Pass, which dips into like the elemental planes of fire, water, earth, and air. You have the Verdant Pass, which kind of is along the border of the Feywild and like the strange natural magical realm of the fairies. Frozen Pass is just as it says in the name, a frozen tundra, with that big, if you see in the thing, there is a big open white circle that has this kind of eternal blizzard that people can't really travel through. And then the Shadow Pass dips into the Shadowfell, which is the place. There's the ruling place of the god of death, in a sort of creepy, cursed, shadowy place. But I wanted to read a bit about what Respite is. So, the city of Respite is one of the only large cities within several hundred miles of the Heart Peak Mountains, these series of mountain ranges that bisect the northern and southern continents. Respite resides in the southern continent, which is known as Karth, and there are dozens of various different mountain passes that go through the Heart Peak Mountains, but there are 6 major ones that are the biggest ones and the most frequently traveled. And there are various indigenous peoples that live in this expanse. Actually, this whole map here would be known as the Heart Peak Wilds. And a lot of these people know secret pathways that maneuver through the mountains to unexplored places that bend the mind and warp reality. This town's biggest export, oddly enough, is adventurers. Many of the greatest heroes in the world cut their teeth in the dangerous mountain passes that teem with the magic of the cosmos. For decades, powerful people from across the world have made the dangerous trek to the Heart Peak Wilds to train as adventurers and as heroes, and many of them have lost their lives seeking glory or succumbing to greed. Untold histories and ancient treasures are known to dot the shifting landscapes of the Heart Peak Wilds, and many people are drawn to its mysteries. So that's a general overview of the area in which the Last Draft is based. A place where the border between reality and different planes of existence is very thin, and where magic and monsters are abundant. Yeah, do this. Cool. So, just wanted to do a little overview, showing people how I organize things. Google Drive is a great resource. I'm also considering using World Anvil as well, which is another kind of world building site that it's almost like making your own wiki page. Which we can upload like maps and stuff, and you can kind of like link different articles together, which is really cool. I've used it before in the past. I'm thinking about doing it again, because you can also make it public so that people themselves, like your players or whatever, can go into your world's like wiki and have all the information that they need, which is a really cool thing. But I use Google Drive for now. Which, because it has these, it has the ability to do outlines, which helps me quickly get through the different places and the different headings and whatnot that I have. So let me go back to my list over here. So today, we're going to be building a trading outpost that exists in one of the mountain passes. Let's get the map back up. Oops, wrong button. You go away. So right in the center there is where the central pass is. It is called the Heart Peak Pass. It leads to a tunnel which goes through this like huge central mountain. It doesn't seem like it through the map, just because it was hard to get it to sync properly, but the mountain in the very center is the biggest singular mountainous structure in the Heart Peak Wilds. It can be seen from miles and miles off, and is one of the first things travelers see as they are making their way towards Respite. But the little outpost that we are going to be building today will be located within the tunnel as you are traversing through the mountains. And yeah, where's my list? I gotta keep this list up so that I remember what the hell I'm talking about. Yes. So, I actually did want to talk a little bit about its history, the town's history, and kind of where I got the idea for this town. So, one of the major kind of organizations within Respite is called the Adventurers Guild, which is probably the most powerful organization in the city. It is where adventurers from all over the world have to register with the Adventurers Guild so that they are official. And over the many years of its existence, the Adventurers Guild has kind of become it's almost like a union, if that makes sense, a union for adventurers. And so they work with other governments of different countries, of like small towns. And so basically, if you are known to be scabbing as an adventurer, it's not good. It's not good for you. And so that the Adventurers Guild was one of the first things that I kind of came up with, because once I decided that this town was a huge town for adventurers, I thought it would make sense that there was some kind of governing body for them. And I also kind of wanted to harken back to different like MMORPGs, or a lot of anime has like the Adventurers Guild thing, and I kind of wanted to. I'd never seen that done before in any of the D&D games that I've played in, where there is like usually adventurers are just like random, crazy, powerful people that end up becoming heroes or villains and dooming or saving the whole world. So I thought an interesting idea an interesting idea was to have this kind of a guild, this organization that adventurers kind of have to answer to. And I come from a union family, union strong, and I've done a lot of research about like the labor uprisings in the 1800s in America. And so a lot of the inspiration that I've drawn for the Adventurers Guild comes through that. So I don't think this is anything I've talked about in any of my videos, but a long time ago, there was an empire in the country to the south that sort of exploited adventurers and would send them into the wilds, into the Heart Peak Mountains, under-equipped, with bad party balances, not enough people in their parties, and basically used and abused adventurers so that they could collect the different artifacts and relics and various other interesting things that you would find in these various magical valleys. And at some point, these adventurers decided that they didn't need a massive empire forcing them to collect things for them and die for them for very little money. So that's kind of how Respite got its start. It started as a sort of company town for adventurers, but then through fighting for themselves and fighting for each other, was able to kick the empire out and form this town, Respite, which then became its own city, maybe even like a town, or not town, like a country. Like this whole swath of the Heartpeak Wilds that you see right here is Respite's territory, for the most part, and fully kicked the Empire out. But yeah, so a lot of what I want to do as I go forward building the Adventurers Guild and Respite is harkening back to those like company towns where miners and railroad workers and steel mill people would be forced into these towns, given a scrip to pay, like, instead of getting actual physical money, they would get some kind of like company credit that they could then spend at the company store to buy things at exorbitant prices. So, yeah, drawing those parallels, because I think that's something that's very interesting. So, that being said, I wanted to, let's see, get this back up. Okay. So there are various different guilds and factions within Respite. They sort of, like, I guess you could call it like a democratic system. Essentially, there is a council, which is a collection of guilds and factions and representatives from the different districts that decide the fate of Respite and its policies. And then there's a mayor who resides over the council and is mostly there to like settle ties or to like run the meetings and ensure a fair balance between all the different factions. However, like everything is, really everyone is vying for more control of the town. Though it might appear to be this sort of almost anarchical paradise on the surface, the closer you look this is a town that is very wealthy, and there's a lot of money comes through here, and you know, where there is a lot of money, there will be corrupt people. So there's the Adventurers Guild, which I talked about. There is the Merchants Guild, which are kind of work hand in hand with the Adventurers Guild, but they also have this sort of rivalry. And it's also one of the more powerful guilds because they are in charge of selling the things the adventurers bring back from the mountains. There's the Laborers Guild, which is a sort of general union for like general laborers for the city. The Cultivator Guild, which is for like farmers and that sort of thing. The Artisan Guild is for your blacksmiths, your leather makers, like anyone who crafts stuff, like crafts materials. There's the People's Guild, which is a recent guild that is where the common folk of Respite banded together to form their own faction. Because they did not feel represented by their district representatives. So they all formed a kind of coalition together to make sure that those who are not in a guild are spoken for. So the people who are pushed to the side often, like elderly people or the disabled, the People's Guild represents them. And then I've mentioned them a couple times. There are the district representatives. I haven't really broken the city into districts yet. Maybe that's something that we'll do on a later stream. But it's just elected officials from the different districts of Respite who are supposed to fight for the will of the people, but often are, you know, manipulated or bribed or, you know, what have you from the various other guilds. And then the last faction is the City Watch, which are the guards of the town. And they have a sort of, let's say they are tied to the Merchant Guild in a way and have a rivalry with the Adventurers Guild. And sort of believe that the adventurers bring problems to the town. Or at least that's the general opinion of a lot of the city watch guards. Which, hey, who's to say that they're wrong? Adventurers bring all kinds of shit to their respective towns. I can't even tell you how many towns that I've been to where I was just like, oh, fucking random dragon, or oh, just a bunch of zombies came out of the sewers that nobody knew about somehow. You know, that kind of thing. Trouble just follows adventurers, that's all I'm saying. But yeah. It's like the most of the, that's like the general idea of like how the structure of Respite is and the different factions and stuff that are there. So, let's start messing around with this place. Here. Showing the map again. There in the center where the that tunnel is into the Heartbeat Pass is where our outpost will go. So I like to think that in the past, that tunnel leading through the mountain pass was not there, and it was in the many years after the establishment of Respite and of the Adventurers Guild that a huge project was embarked on to create a tunnel through the mountain, so that travelers could more easily get through from Karth, the continent to the south, up through to Lucara, which is the continent in the north. Yes. And so, probably several decades, and with the help of many druids and strong people, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Eventually, the tunnel was built, and an outpost was placed within the mountain, and that's what we're going to be building today. So I had a couple of ideas written down already. That I have a couple of names that I'm going to just throw out there. I'm not sure about which one. I was trying to get that like heart central vibe with the names that I came up with. So the first one, kind of simple, was The Core, which I thought sounded cool, but maybe was a little too basic. The second was Cormont Outpost, kind of keeping that core vibe, but making it sound more like an actual name. And then calling it just Border, because it is on the border between the two different countries. I was thinking about it. I do like Cormont, so Cormont Outpost. I'm gonna put that as its name first. I might decide what I might end up changing it later. Here, we'll do that right here. So Cormont. I like that. That's kind of how I name things. Is like I will think of a defining feature of whatever I'm trying to name, and then just kind of try to keep that vibe. Second list again. So because this is a like a border town almost, or like I was kind of thinking of it as almost like the actual border, like as people are coming to this town, it doesn't sit directly in Karth, and it doesn't directly sit in Lucara. It kind of hovers in between the two. And so my thought process was that it is sort of shared run by delegates from the different factions. So here, let's Now, I was kind of thinking about it. My whole first thought was that it was a man-made structure. I might rethink that, and maybe it's more interesting for it to have already been there. So what I'm going to do is do a little comment here. Hi, Nico. Let's see here. As time went on, Vermont became a resting place for travelers to and fro between the continents. For long as population begins to grow and begins to establish itself, Cormont grows into a trading post and a small settlement. Ow. I always do that, and I'm like, ow, I regret doing that. Grows into a trading post, into a small settlement. Go back to my other list. What was I saying? Right, about the goods. So, since Respite had such a bad history with the Empire of Karth to the south, I believe it would have established a good relationship, maybe some kind of trade agreement, or maybe some kind of like partnership with Lucera to the north, who had also been harried by the Empire. I kind of see the Empire of Karth as being one of those world-spanning empires that, you know, not to name any names, the British Empire that ruined the entire world. And so, like, most people think poorly of the Empire. And so they decided to work together to ensure that they have a means to trade and they can kind of cut the Empire out a little bit. I've also had this thought that there had been some kind of war between Lucera and the Empire of Karth, and the adventurers of Respite began ferrying refugees, deserters from the military, and basically would just anyone trying to escape Karth would help them escape Karth, and the Empire didn't like that. And then there was a very brief, very bloody, not to call it, I don't think you can call it a war, skirmish battle between the adventurers of Respite and the Empire's Imperial army. I don't have anything written down about that yet, but I think the idea of like 20 adventurers going up against like 100,000 dudes, that, I don't know, the idea of that just sounds like really cool to me. So that's something that I have been thinking about for a while. So it would make sense that Lucera and Respite would have a very close and personal working relationship. I feel like it would be uncommon for two countries or two different governments or whatever to kind of both lay claim to a settlement. I mean, I guess they kind of did that in Germany with Berlin, but like I feel like that was less of a partnership and more of a like, you get this one, I get this one. You get this half, you take the other half. Put up a wall so we don't have to share. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry about that. What the hell was I talking about? But yes, so that's right. Kind of like the idea that it's almost self-governed, that it like exists outside of the power structures of both Respite and Lucara. Like, there are people there, like officials from each place, but because it's such a kind of important city or important like connection between the two, that they're wary of one taking more power than the other. And so oh wait, hold on. Yeah, them splitting the world like Germany. Yeah. Yes, Nico, there are dragons in this world. Lots of dragons, probably. So many dragons. Actually, there's probably a bunch of secret dragons. That's something in one of my campaigns. There was like one of our like longtime allies, the person that actually sent us out on our quest. Her name was Fioriel. As far as we knew, she was called the Silver Lady, and she was an elf. She was a high elf. And then we learned later on that she was actually a silver dragon. And then another one of our like longtime friends, Old Man Jenkins, also was a dragon named Old Man Jenkins. He was a gold dragon, or maybe he was a brass dragon. I don't actually remember. But we just kept going around suspecting everyone of being a secret dragon. So who knows? Trade began to flow more and more through the Heart Peak Pass. More buildings built. And more. What am I thinking here? God, don't you just hate when the train of thought just derails and crashes and burns? travelers can hawk some of their wares. And weary adventurers can rest. I also feel like to like maintain some sort of, sure, smuggling is probably a huge I mean, it's a huge problem in any city, but especially one with like such a high level of magic and different like magical artifacts. So I'm sure that smuggling is a huge problem. So I also kind of see Cormont as being a place where if you are coming from Lucara from the north to the south into Respite, those coming from Lucara to Respite must submit to specifically like people coming with goods. Those merchants coming from Lucara to Respite goods must first submit to a search of, maybe not a search, like what do they call it when you like have a manifest and they're going through and they're like, you got that, I got bought one box of that, one box of that, what the fuck would you call that? I don't even know what you would call that. Good night, Nico. Thanks for coming in. What the fuck? I was gonna say a search when I know what I actually mean. Other goods to continuing on through the Outpost. So actually here, what we're gonna do is delete that. Merchants coming through with goods must first submit to a search of their goods before continuing on through the Outpost. Those coming from the north and heading to Respite will be searched by Respite officials, while those heading from the south and towards Lucara are searched by Lucaran officials. So the idea being that they kind of take turns, or one country gets the people coming in, and the other one gets the people going out. As to whichever place they're going to. Kind of splitting duties almost. Shipping manifest. Yeah, but how is, I guess, checking the shipping manifest? How do I write that? First submit to a checking of their, I guess I could just checking of their goods. Cool. Oh, so something that I've been thinking about as far as like probably one of the first things actually that like aesthetically I thought of when I was thinking about this outpost, or specifically the Heart Peak mountain, which is like I think I said it in the beginning, but it is the mountain that gives this whole place its name. Like this one mountain here in the center, this like that really big one in the center, is considered the Heart Peak, because it is in the center and it is the biggest like individual like mountain in the entire mountain range. And I had this cool idea of, as they were sort of digging through and creating, if that's, I mean, I was thinking about maybe switching it to like a natural cave that then they turned into man-made, but whatever. When it was first discovered, and they got to the very center of where the mountain would be, many stories up, there is like a big opening in this like cave, in this like big cavern where Cormont would exist. And in this like big chamber at the very tops, many stories up, the entire ceiling is made of either thousands of gemstones or one huge massive gemstone that like encompasses the whole ceiling, which both I think are really cool. I think I want to stick with the massive single individual gemstone, and I had a name for it too. My mother is posting in here, and for some reason it was restricted. Mom, what did you post that was restricted? Oh, it was retracted. Oh, never mind. So I yes, talking about the gem, it would be I think it would be referred to as the Heartstone, this massive naturally forming gem. And I kind of feel like, you know, a lot of times in fantasy, gems are able to like harness magic. And so I haven't decided if it's a naturally occurring thing or if it's something that like the first adventurers who built Cormont would have like built themselves, or like somehow managed to make some kind of magic to do this. But during the day, the gem at the top glows almost bright enough to simulate the outside sun. I almost kind of want it to be like enough that somehow plants can still grow, so that there can be like people can have little tiny plots or whatever in this small settlement, and so people don't go crazy living underground. And then at night, when the lights will actually dim as well. I just kind of like that idea of like this ambient sunlight in this place that is deep underground. So I'll write that down too. The Heart Stone. Actually, let's do Heartstone, a massive gem. Encompasses the whole ceiling of the chamber in which Cormont resides. Greg, I'm going to add you as a moderator. I just clicked on your name and it said add as moderator. I'm like, not dissimilar. Is that the word? Yeah. Allowing the residents of Cormont to maintain to rest that night. Yeah, I really don't know. I'll have to think about it a little bit more. I don't know what I like more, if it's naturally occurring the way that the light fills the gemstone, or if it's something that the ancient adventurers did, where it's like, oh, here's a couple of runes or whatever, and these runes, I don't know, like activate the mana that is present in all things, and sends it up through into the Heartstone, which then lightens the way. What else do I have? I think I'm pretty close to finishing all of my... I had like a couple of bullet points of like the general idea I had for Cormont. Let's see here. Yeah, that's all the ideas I had written down so far. I don't know if I'll do it today, but I'll probably at some point come back to this and start writing out a list of NPCs. And typically the way when I'm creating a settlement, I will start with the general history. So like we wrote here with it being founded by adventurers trying to find an easier way through the mountains. And so yeah, come up with like a general history, and then once I have like an idea of how it became a town in the first place, then I'll start to sprinkle in different businesses and like different people that, you know, then once you have the businesses, then you need NPCs to staff those businesses and to own them as well. But yeah, I feel like when you start doing that, it's like almost like it's like a Katamari. Is that what it's called? The rolling thing? It's like a Katamari where you're just like, once you start, you're just constantly, or at least for me, like once I start naming stuff, I get into a roll, and I'm like coming up with different NPCs. And weirdly enough, one of my favorite things to do when world building is to come up with names for businesses. I mean, like just to show you, I like to come up with like silly puns and stuff for the different business names. One of my favorites is here. Yeah. It's a bakery called Heaven's Scent. Heaven's Scent? Heaven's Scent? Ha! But yeah, you know, it's I don't know, it's the Cloak and Stagger. That's another good one. Yeah. I don't know if there will be a lot of storefronts in Cormont. I feel like it'll probably mostly be like trading companies, like warehouses and stuff. and then maybe like 1 or 2 shops. It definitely won't be anything like Respite. Just a place to restock your food supplies, get some more water, if you need like your equipment fixed, that kind of stuff. But I definitely don't. Maybe one inn, or maybe not even an inn. Maybe it's just like a barracks almost. It's like, here, you get a cot in a big room with a bunch of other people. I haven't really decided how big I want the want Cormont to be. I don't think I want it to be huge. I kind of want it to have that sort of trading outpost vibe. But no, we've reached about an hour, which is all I was really planning on streaming, and I don't really have much more written down to figure out. So yeah, this is mostly a test because I don't really stream often, so I wanted to see how awkward I felt through it. And tell you what, I felt pretty awkward in the beginning. I feel less awkward now, so that's good. It'll definitely be something I need to get used to. I definitely have never really streamed that much before. I mean, I used to stream a lot of Dungeons and Dragons content, but I was playing D&D. It wasn't just me talking about random shit. I'm sure I'll get better at it as we go on. But I had fun so far. I know that most of the people in the chat besides Nico were my family and my friends, which, thank you. I appreciate that. But I'm excited to keep doing this. I don't know. I probably will do another World Building Wednesday next week, and maybe that's what I'll just keep doing, World Building Wednesdays. I do want to stream more than just once a week, but we're going to wait until more interest is shown. And then, who knows, we could start. I would love to start streaming Dungeons and Dragons games. Even just one-shots in the in Respite would be wonderful. Maybe that's something I'll start to try to organize, is doing some one-shots, so that we can explore this world together. I mean, because to be honest, I get a lot of my best ideas from my players. Sometimes someone will say something, I'm like, ding, that like sets off a idea in my head, or that's one of the great things about D&D is that collaborative storytelling. It can really make interesting, unique content. Even though I hate the word content, but there's not any other real good word for it, so we're gonna say it anyway. All right. I'm starving. I'm going to eat this pizza that's next to me. Thank you so much, adventurers, for coming and watching this stream and watching me bumble my way through it. I appreciate every single one of you out there. You're all beautiful. See ya on the next quest.